Welcome to Attention Undivided, FME Attention Undivided. I am your host. I've decided I'm a combination of Tigger from Winnie the Pooh and the Grinch. If you put those together, that's me and my whole energy. I'm Dan O, and I don't know what pale ale is for, but I'm drinking it now, and I'm joined by. We're talking about someone who will lob the bullet at you full court and make you catch the alley-oop. We're talking about Teller Banks is in the digital, the 37th chamber here of the Zoom. Sir. I'm so happy to have you. What an incredible journey you've had, and like you understand where you are. Sometimes I feel like me and you are the only people who really know where you are.
I feel that, yeah, 100%. Like, I got a team of people who like. I didn't go on the camera, but I live in the studio and work on music every day. So like, I feel like the people who live with me and used to the way that I work and how I move and operate, like. The sounds that you heard, like, I'm saying, on like the real Skullface and like even the other albums are actually like the majority of the sound that's coming out of the studio, you know what I mean, on a regular basis. And so it's kind of it's kind of interesting, you know what I mean, like finally kind of letting some of that stuff go and kind of fly and seeing the reactions to it and like people being kind of thrown off by it being like new sound or not really sounding like me when it's probably more true to, you know what I'm saying, the sound that be going on in the studio more often than not, you know what I mean, when I'm in here.
Yeah, no, it's I didn't mean, obviously your team knows you, believes in you better than anybody outside will ever. But in terms of people outside, I forget which song it was on 777, but you said like, the crazy thing is I'm still growing. The crazy thing is they're still passing. And I'm feeling like Lamar Jackson in the draft, and I was like, yeah. Yep. I feel that shit, like, in terms of people kind of enjoy what you do, but they don't know all the angles of what you can do and what you are doing. And so it's hard to introduce them to these other aspects.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I think I showed glimpses of it on a few of my earlier albums, but I have so much content that I've put out, and I put it out in different mediums to where, like, I feel like people who know me on Bandcamp like know me for one thing, and people who know me from like the shows that I do, you know what I'm saying, know a whole other person. And the people who kind of meet me in the middle, like, have experienced something else entirely, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like the Skullface was kind of like it's kind of like a reveal in a way. It was kind of like, oh, the Scooby-Doo, like, take the mask off. What's really going on, like, underneath here, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it was almost, I don't know, we keep thinking of like the end of like She Hate Me or whatever, where it's like introducing all the people. He's like, look, you fan over here, meet each other, right? We're all gonna coexist. This is all gonna be one market from now on. So I think that's awesome. And it's how's the reception been to everything?
Pretty much exactly how I thought it was going to be. A lot of my fans, like, and I don't even like knock them for it. I actually think it's dope. You know what I mean? They just love hip hop so much and are so attached to like a certain like ideology and even a certain sound from me that, they really, I had a lot of people, I don't want to say a lot of people, but I had a few people that were kind of like, they like Dedication. They like Skullface 77. They like the songs on 357. They like some of the stuff on 333. A lot of people haven't heard the real Skullface, but you know, once I start getting more into like the auto tune and the singing joints and things like that, you know, people kind of, you know, for different reasons, they're not really feeling it. You know what I mean? They kind of get different. You know, people. I don't get an opinion from everybody, but the people whose opinions that I do value and who, you know, I've given credence to when they've given me praise, I have to give them that same credence when they're giving me critique. You know what I'm saying? So that's how critic and critique work. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I understood exactly, you know what I'm saying, where that was coming from. But, you know, at the same time, I know that there are people who've never experienced any of my music who might grasp on and relate easily more to that stuff and then go back and hear the stuff that's on my Bandcamp and be like, what the hell is this? You know what I mean? Just because it's so different of a sound. So like, it was dope to me first that people even took the time to listen to it and that people have that much like stake in my music. You know what I'm saying? That they actually care about the direction that I might be going in or whatever. And so, you know, and it's not to say I'm going in a direction like, you know, I've always been multifaceted as an artist. Like I started out singing when I was a kid and playing the saxophone and stuff like that. Became a producer before I ever rapped. And then I didn't really start rapping until I felt like I had something to really rap about. You know, it took me actually living a lot of life and really doing, you know what I'm saying, a lot of stuff before I even felt like I had a story to tell personally and not just an obligation to help other people tell their stories. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, you know, yeah, I don't want people to think that that's like, oh, going forward, it's going to be all R&B, it's going to be all this, it's going to be all that. Yeah. But that's stuff that's a part of me that as I gain more freedom, you know what I'm saying? And more like, you know, just more financial freedom, more freedom of time, more just freedom of my mind and spirit, right? You're going to be hearing different sounds, you know what I'm saying, coming from me. And it doesn't mean, because my output is high. So just because you're going to get an R&B album from me doesn't mean you're not going to get 4-5 hip hop albums from me. Doesn't mean, you know, me and Ed Glorious pretty much wrapped up our next album like yesterday. So it's still, you know what I mean? I still have multiple different, you know, hip hop true to the culture, you know what I'm saying, releases that'll be coming out. But you know, I also am going to be dropping more sounds because I have the freedom to do so. And I want to take advantage of that, you know, as long as I can.
It makes sense. And by the way, that was a great tip on criticism, right? In the sense that receiving criticism, it's the same in relationships, right? If you're in a relationship with someone, they tell you some shit they know they shouldn't have, and you freak out, you'll never hear that shit again.
Right.
You'll never hear that secret information again. It'll still happen, but it'll be filed away and they won't tell you, right? So the better you handle critique or whatever, the more you get to hear from people, right? Yeah. The more information you get from people. So that's really important.
Uh-oh.
No, I'm cool. I'm back. But yeah, so that's super important, and I think more people should get better at that, right? And understanding that. So it's good to hear you're able to do that. In terms of the production side, is pretty amazing, right? I'm not sure everybody knew that you produced. I certainly did because of Jackie Brown.
Yeah.
And that was my introduction to the other teller, right? You'd be like, oh shit, this is modern shit. This is not throwback shit at all. So, but it still mystifies me. I was listening to Re-Rock and I was like, man, this had to be done by Ed or just someone nasty. This is unfucking believable. And I was like, TB Money Sign. I'm like, God damn, this, that's awesome. So it makes sense hearing that you were producing first.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Producing is like one of my first loves. Like I got into music. I played I sang in the choir. My dad used to be a pastor, and so like in church, we was a real small church. So you know, my mom was like leading the praise team and the first lady and all that. And I sang in the choir from the time I was like sang for other people. I played the instruments in the church for, you know, for church music, but I never really applied that to myself being, you know what I'm saying, like I knew I was a musician, but I didn't really view myself as like an artist per se. You know what I'm saying? Until like after that, like I did spoken word poetry for like a few years after I graduated high school, just because I got into that scene and like that was my, you know, I don't want to say that was my introduction to being a rapper, but that's when I felt like I was actually like talented as far as like writing goes, but I still didn't see myself as a rapper per se until, you know, it was probably a few years after I got, or, you know, a year or so after I got done doing poetry that I really got into rapping. But I had been making beats just for fun even to then. So
and that's, I mean, that's a really, that makes sense. That's an interesting point in terms of when you're doing spoken word poetry, right? There's no, you can't really lie to yourself that you're not important anymore, right? If you write it yourself, you perform it yourself, people love it. Yeah. That's it, right? You are an artist at that point.
Yeah.
Right?
And I mean, the poets that fuck with me are like real deal. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I was doing poetry and stuff. I wasn't doing it on the level with them, you know what I mean? But the like Slam Nuba was like, you know, I was like a low key, like adopted little member of the family, you know, in terms of how much they really loved and appreciated me and like the things that I was bringing to the poetry slams, you know what I'm saying, that they were hosting and stuff like that. So I'm still close with a lot of those people, even today, you know what I mean, from 10 years ago, just doing, you know what I mean, coming through and doing poetry and competing and doing stuff with them. So they really like, that's really what gave me my confidence as far as like, you know, that I was really good, you know what I'm saying? Versus just like going and deciding to hop in front of a microphone one day. It was kind of like maybe poetry, like per se, isn't my bag because I don't really like the control other people have of it, right?
Yeah.
And that kind of into just recording, you know what I'm saying, by myself. I used to record on a little Guitar Hero mic up my laptop. Yeah.
That's awesome. No, it makes sense, but that community of artists and people who support that scene, you know, being able to interact with it on a kind of an everyday basis or an every week basis provides you with something, right? Chartable progress, you know, you can show new stuff to people and see where it went. And that's really a cool thing.
It's crazy because I actually just remember even the moment, like, you know, I was having some frustration because I kept getting like runner up in the slams. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I was losing the shit that I felt like was bullshit because, like, you know, it's like a strategy when you're doing poetry, right? So it's like all of my poems are like, you know, they like my rap for the most part. You know, they're very like personal, deep, like kind of almost like gut wrenching in a sense. It's even worse when it's poetry. You know what I mean? So it's like, then somebody to strategy to beat me would be like, okay, they can't go as deep as that. So they would come with like a funny poem or like a love poem. And it's that connects a little more with the audience. And so I was getting frustrated with that. And there was a DJ Cavum, who ETEF, still going crazy. He's like a vegan rapper. He's actually like doing some revolutionary stuff in the hood. Shout out to ETEF. When I was leaving the stage on the last poetry slam I did, he was like, yo, man, don't take it so personally. They just don't really jive with rappers like that. And that was the first time anybody had ever referred to me as like a rapper. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't, you know what I mean, like ever really see myself as that until he said that. And I realized like, okay, I could probably start, you know what I'm saying, rapping and getting into the studio. And then so I really started I was going to house parties and just rapping in the ciphers and doing all that kind of stuff just to see if it stuck. People told me they really liked my voice. And from there, it's just kind of like, okay, maybe I'm more than just like a writer or, you know what I mean? I don't know. It was kind of, that was kind of like my process, even why I feel like I started kind of late getting into music, you know what I mean? For as long in my life, or getting into rapping per se, for as long as my life as I've been doing music. Yeah.
That's awesome. And a completely bullshit move that always works in poetry slams, right? In terms of Like someone goes on stage, does an incredibly gripping, depressing poem that's very personal, right? And the the they get pretty good scores. The crowd's kind of in shock. The next person goes up and does like a funny poem about pancakes.
Yeah.
The crowd needs that release. The judges needed that release. So they give higher scores, but that release was created by the first poem that was better.
Yeah. And like, and that's the thing too, is like, I've even benefited from that. I feel like in the opposite, because it really, for me, what was making me angry was like, it pretty much come down to the coin toss or the flip of whoever went first.
Yep.
Because if the person that goes first did a funny poem first, and I come through with the deep, and I'm gonna win. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, it just got to a point where it was like, it became too subjective. I'm a very competitive person. And so for me, it's like, if you're going to judge my art, like I understand, I like the concept still today. Like they just pass scorecards out to the audience, which is fine. Right. But like, if you don't know what I'm talking about, like I need people who know literature. I need people who really do poetry to judge my poems, or I'm gonna be pissed off, because I'm not finna have nobody that don't, you know what I mean, that don't listen. Like the same way I wouldn't have somebody that don't listen to rap music, like be in charge of where I go in rap music. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. No, I'm with you. It's freeing because it's democratic. Like they just give everybody the ability, but it's maddening because you see the same trends, you see the same tricks work.
And you might not catch what I'm actually doing that makes what I'm doing impressive outside of the content, you know what I'm saying, that you're hearing. It's like there are, you know what I'm saying, like literary devices and stuff that, you know what I'm saying, if you're not really like tuned in, and you're missing half of what's really going on, you know what I'm saying, even in the raps now, which is why I don't like to even like share my written lyrics. I just started kind of doing that on Instagram, but the way that I rap like has so many entendres, you know what I'm saying, or even like homonyms, where it loses its effect when you read it. You have to hear it, and the way that it sounds, you know what I'm saying, is going to change the way that it actually means, or it means all of them things at the same time.
Right. Yeah. No, it's you've been able to weave everything together. It's been unbelievable. So what, in terms of the production, who would you like to produce an album for?
Man, honestly, like I don't want to sound like an asshole, right? But I really don't produce for anybody. There are like, if you have a beat for me, like I love you for real, for real. You know what I'm saying? And that's not to say I don't love anybody that don't have a beat for me, but like that's just, I keep that in my toolbox, because that is like, at the end of the day, like that's my ace in the hole. That's what makes me like unique, is I feel like I have a sound and style of production that nobody like has cracked the code to yet, or nobody can really do the stuff that I do with production. And so when I get to a place, you know what I'm saying, I know that's going to be very valuable to me as far as my sound, and that, you know, my sound can't be replicated or really like bought and sold without me being a dealer. You know what I'm saying? If I was going to produce an album for somebody, it had to be like, I'll produce an album for Jay Electronica.
Ooh,
for sure, produce an album for Jay Electronica. I would produce somebody R&B album, like you know, if I could do the production and like the writing for a very talented like vocalist, you know, I can't really think of anybody right now that would really.
I've been deep in the R&B research, right? So I can give you, I was maybe Joyce Rice.
Yeah, I could write for, you know what I'm saying? I just need somebody with a voice and who is comfortable with like splitting that control. I'll give it a little if they can give a little, but I really, you know, I'm more of like a visionary type of person. And so I'm also, it's kind of hard for me to work with other people because I see things a certain way, you know what I mean? Or I hear things a certain way. And it's like, it's hard for me to hear it a different way because the image has existed in my mind and my brain already. You know what I mean? So, but if it's somebody whose talent I respect, then I'll give them that, you know what I'm saying? I can give and take a little bit on that. But as far as production, like I have pondered the idea of putting some of my, I'd never put my beats up on like YouTube or no beat stars. Like there's no chance that anybody that doesn't really know me or have access to me would ever be able to rap on my production. But like, you know, somebody like Sleep Sinatra could get a beat from me just because like that's really my guy. You know what I'm saying? Sequence, Prose, Conspiracy, you know what I'm saying? Man, even like even my man
Ishu would do great. Yeah. You producing for Hakeem Ishu?
Oh yeah, that's my guy.
That would be awesome.
You know what? I didn't want to let the cat out the bag, but yeah, I have actually slid him a few joints, and me and him might have an EP because that's really like my dude. Me and him been rocking for like, unbeknownst to like the public or whatever. It's been like probably 6-7 years. Me and him really been like good friends. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's definitely my guy. Shout out to Big Spencer.
Such an easy flow, but a very thoughtful person, and a very gross person, saying really funny, weird shit out of nowhere. Issu's really, really interesting and really talented, and I appreciate you helping me get to know his music. To be honest,
yeah. Well, he's incredibly talented. The Betrayal and Liberation, his first like album.
Oh yeah, I covered that.
Man, that is as good as anything that's come out from anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like for real. That's like masterpiece body of work.
But yeah, this leads me to a question, because you start talking about people that are in the circle, that are, you know, they feature with you feature with them. I mean, people don't really talk enough about collective improvement and how cool it is to grow in a group of people all growing. But all the folks you've been working with for the longest, we talked about Ishu, Sequence, Sleep, Prose, they're all at real high points in their career. You know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, how has their push to improve informed your growth? How has that helped you?
Incredibly. Like, you know, so like the first thing I say is like I'm very competitive, but I'm also like very humble. As highly as I see myself, is like I see other people very highly as well. So like there's been guys that like, you know, I see like as my peers, you know what I'm saying? They might not see it that way, but I see them as my peers because I feel like, you know, we all, I don't want to say started around the same time because I don't know where everybody's journey begins, you know what I mean? But I see myself like we was all in the same realm and they've like exceeded that. And I'm kind of like in that, like, you know, like Rome Streets was on my first tape with Black Knight. You know what I'm saying? Like for real. Yeah. Like cats like him, you know, Vic Spencer, even people like Chris Crack, you know, even like Benny and Conway. Like I would never say like I know them, but like there was a point in time where like Benny had like 200 followers on his Twitter. I was one of them. Like he used to shop in the DMs with me. You know what I'm saying? There was a point in time where I could have got a verse from Benny and Conway for $1,500. And you know what I'm saying? I just ain't have it at that time. You know what I mean? But like all of them people like seeing the heights that they've reached, you know what I'm saying? It just makes me like, you know, cats like Uncle John, you know what I'm saying? That's you know, somebody I hold in a real high regard as well. Cause like, you know what I mean? I booked him and brought him out to Iowa one time, got to chop it up with him and meet him. And just even his growth from that moment to now, you know what I'm saying? It's all stuff that I look at and study, you know what I'm saying? And like Sequence, man, like Sequence taught me how to use the damn internet. Like, I know I'm funny, you know what I mean? It might seem like I'm like up on it, but like he was the first person I seen on an underground level that was like networking from somewhere that didn't have nothing. Cause like I'm from Denver, but I ended up in Des Moines. And so I didn't really start rapping for real. Like I wouldn't even say I was rapping for real when I lived in Denver. I was dropping music. I had a whole nother rap name and all kind of stuff that, you know what I'm saying, ended up getting changed, all that. I won't get into that story. But, you know, the first like music from Teller Banks came out in Iowa, like while I was just on probation, like SoundCloud shit. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So like just seeing how Sequence was able to operate and connect. And once I realized like the people that he operate and connect with aren't in the same place as him. You know what I'm saying? Like he in the middle of Alabama where like, but he's got, you know what I'm saying, support from all over the place. And so it just like really, I'm an old school person where like I didn't see the internet as something that I could use to make personal connections with people, right? But that he made me really change my like stance and operation and idea on that. You know what I'm saying? And even just in the ways that I was able to like genuinely network and like build genuine relationships with other like, you know what I'm saying, MCs, producers, whatever. It's like I said, even my relationship, you know what I'm saying, with Vic Spencer is what led to like the incredible friendship that I have with Hakeem, just because, you know what I'm saying, people showed me how to move and operate like in that online and in that underground community in a way that was like, you know, genuine, but also not like, you know, riding coattails, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, Sequence definitely,
I mean, this has been like an incredible year for Sequence, right? Chameleon to me is his best album so far. Yeah. And like show stealing verses on all these albums people are talking about, right? Okay, nice. You know, he 777, incredible, just work all around in terms of being present everywhere he goes, you know? Yeah.
And it's crazy, like that's what makes me feel good is it's like, you know, them people that I came in like really like, you know, looking up to and like learning from and all of that, like to see now that like the height that they regard me in is kind of like, you know, it's kind of crazy to me coming in retrospect. You know what I mean? Yeah.
That's awesome. And it's the same story we hear over and over again of like your new favorite artist has been here for 10 years and you just didn't know it, you know?
Yeah.
That's just constantly happening now. And there are definitely people doing that with all the people we mentioned, right? With Sleep, with Sequence, with all these people just saying, "Oh wow, I just found this guy and I'm really into it," you know, and it's just because that growth and not giving up, and it's an incredible thing.
Yeah, and it's really like just exponential because when I really think about it, like Hellfire and Brimstone came out in like I want to say like 2018, maybe 2019.
Right.
So that was my first like actual, you know what I'm saying, like mixtape. I got an older album, No Country for Old Niggas, that I produced all of, but like I ain't like the way they're releasing the you know what I'm saying, the way that it came out. So I might redo it and do something with it. You know what I mean? It's got some good content, but like my, you know, so now seeing like, okay, it's really only been like 3 years that I've even been like making music. I used to feel like, you know, because I started taking it serious so late, like I just turned 30 April 6th. So at when I first got into music seemed like the deadline to me. You know what I'm saying? Whereas like now when I look at it and see like a lot of my favorite rappers is like in their late 30s and late 40s, you know what I'm saying? So I look at what I could accomplish and what like my peers and like some of my closest friends could go on to accomplish in 10 years and what I've ever been able to do and what we've been able to do in just a few already. It kind of like makes me feel like, you know, like, and you know, I mean, I don't know corny shit, but like anything is possible. And just seeing how other people have elevated in that same span of time, like, you know, I don't look at it in like, no, a lot of people, I feel like not a lot of people, but some people be like hating on shit like that. You know what I mean? And
right.
They feel like it should be them or whatever. But I'm always just trying to learn, like, okay, but like, why was it them though? You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like, what did they do? Not even on no like. And it's humbled me because like a lot of connections I've made have just been asking people that question from a genuine sense. Like, you know, oh man, McKinley Dixon, my fucking guy. Like I gotta drop McKinley Dixon. That's my dude, man. You know what I mean? But that album's crazy. So like even
great album.
Like McKinley Dixon went from how I met McKinley Dixon. He came out here and did a show. My man's like ended up on the opening bill, this little tiny thing in Barville. And you know, we got a thing where like one of us performed, all of us performed. So we all performed. I did a few songs, and then like we was the only people at the show. Is my crew, like the 10 of us, 12 of us. and McKinley Dixon and his band. And so he came out and he put on like a fucking insane performance for us with him and his band. And it was just us in there. And it was like, you know, me and him ended up becoming like pretty cool and working on. And like literally that song, BBNE, that I'm featured on his album, was recorded probably like 2019. You know what I mean? It's kind of dated. So like me and his relationship has been bubbling since then. So seeing him go from literally a show that like sold tickets to like maybe like 3 or 4 people that was like came with us to being like nationally recognized and critically acclaimed as like having one of the best albums. Like people talk about that as being compared to some of the best albums of all time.
Right,
and
right.
So that was like maybe 2 years ago. You know what I mean? And so it's just the community and the like peers of mine that have showed me love and like hold me in high regard. Like I really take that like heavily. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like they're all really very talented, world-class talent. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Yeah. No, it feels like the league is more competitive than it's ever been. If you were to think about this kind of underground scene as a league, there just isn't the tentpole artist that no one can touch anymore, right? Like
I feel like I'm that, you know what I'm saying? But you know,
but like there's just so much talent that like anybody can get it on, you know, any given project can become that shit that you can't top, right? But yeah, you're doing it, man. And one of the things that I remember when Part and Parcel really took off, and I was going to ask you, how would you describe the difference in reception from Part and Parcel to Grotesque, from Grotesque and the Beautiful?
Man, honestly, like they kind of did the same. Like they were both. It was almost like kind of haunting because the Grotesque and Beautiful did so well that like and like the Grotesque and Beautiful came together like in the most accidental, like, you know, I was really just like on an acid binge, and I had recorded Suicide Hotline maybe like a week or so before, and wasn't, you know, I was kind of on it, but I was like, man, I was going in a completely different direction. Like this is the thing you gotta understand. So Skullface, 666, another R&B album that nobody's heard, Plantation, which was kind of the lead into the real Skullface.
Oh wow.
And like a lot of these songs were recorded in that same time frame, that March and April of 2020. So all of these albums are literally, I'm recording them all in the same time frame. I'm just like, you know, I was experimenting with a lot of psychedelics and just really like cranking out. We was in the lockdown, you know what I mean? So everybody was kind of holed up, and I wasn't in that mind frame to go deep like that. I was just really like doing a lot of stuff. I was doing a lot of more production. So I really wasn't even interested on rapping on other people's beats until I opened this beat pack that he sent me. And it was like, I heard the beat and it was the song ended up being called Exercise 19. And
ooh,
like, literally, I saw the song in my head. I wrote the song, like it was, you know what I'm saying? The song is about my cousin, but like I just basically rapped the scene that I like seen in my head just from hearing the beat. And so I did that whole album in like maybe like a week. You know what I mean? I probably did like that first night when I did Exercise 19. I did the first, you know, besides Suicide Hotline 3, I did the first like 5 songs right there. Just listen to them going, you know what I mean? And then waited a couple of days and then did it again, and it just happened like that in like 3 sessions over like 2 weeks. And I just thought it was going to be another like, you know, release that kind of hyped up for whatever I was doing next or whatever. And the more I listened to it, the more I was like, man, this is really like, it kind of revealed itself to me as I was going through and listening to it, because the album didn't end up coming out till October.
Right.
So the more I sat with it, rearranged the songs, cut songs, took things away and put it together, I was like, man, this is really something special. So releasing it and then having people like agree, like, yo, this is something special, it kind of put a lot of like expectation or like pressure up, you know, even when I thought about, okay, the part and parcel, like now what am I going to do with this? So it kind of gave me like some time off. I feel like, you know, it was a while before we started working on it again, but I knew that we had to do something. And so once he started sending me the beats, I don't even remember what the first song was. There was so much shit going on in my life when I did the part and parcel that like, I literally don't remember like much of what I was doing. I wasn't in the studio a lot. It was the first time I got back to like really writing on paper, writing in my notepad on the iPhone, and really like having to put songs together and then take it back to the studio and try to put it back together how I came up with it somewhere else. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, it was kind of like, you know, it was kind of like I was at like, you know, writing letters back home from something, you know what I mean? But seeing the response, like, just knowing, it felt like some like supernatural, like spiritual work, you know what I mean? Where it was like, it put itself together exactly how it needed to be in a completely different manner. I was like completely sober, damn near, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Was really just in a completely different phase and mind frame to really like lead in and like the whole sequence, it's a trilogy, you know what I mean? So this next one is kind of like, it's not the end of me and Ed working together, but it's the end of this conceptual like trilogy, you know, which is really based on me and my cousin, you know, who's on the cover of the Grotesque and Beautiful, and then I'm on the cover of the Parcel. But it's kind of like you know, mirroring our childhood, you know what I'm saying? And then goes into the part and parcel would be more from the perspective of like, you know, Grotesque and Beautiful is more observations, right? Everything kind of sets you up, a setting, it gives you a narrative, it gives you a environment, you know what I mean? And describe and what makes it tick, how it works, you know what I'm saying? And then the part and parcel is more of like instead of it being like a third person view, it's more of a first person account from like the confines of my grandma's house, you know what I'm saying? The people in there and what they're doing, but more from the lens of just one perspective. So
and is it kind of a rowdy teenage lens to it? Is that because it felt looser? It felt part and parcel felt a bit looser than Grotesque and Beautiful.
The Grotesque and Beautiful would be like what my grandma's neighborhood was like and what life felt like, and you know, just running around with my cousins felt like when I was probably like 8 or 9, maybe like, you know, like young kid, like elementary school. Versus the part and parcel would be more when it's like, okay, I'm really out now. I'm outside, like doing it. This is my first time really stepping off the like going into the world that I witnessed. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And so this next one is like, I don't want to spoil it, but this next one is really like
the next phase. The next,
And I feel like it's my best work to date. Like it might be something. It's like man, it's really special. I might let you hear some of it. You know what I'm saying?
I love it. I mean, because when it came out, I will say, I think the reason I constructed the question is I felt like a bunch of Grotesque and the Beautiful gained a lot of steam and gained a lot of leverage, right? I pushed it, a lot of people pushed it, and I think people were hearing your name and hearing you on features, and there were a lot of people who were like, I'll give him a shot now on this next one, right? And then Part and Parcel comes out. It's got free energy, the Denver Thuggets. It's like, you know, moving, you know, and it's everybody's like, oh shit, this is good. I like this. This is my shit. And I remember I kind of had my arms crossed, like, y'all haven't heard Grotesque and the Beautiful, you know. You think this is a free flowing dude. When he puts his architect hat on, he can build a world deeper than you can imagine, right? Like, so I still love Grotesque and the Beautiful is still my favorite of what you've done. But yeah. The Suicide Hotline to me is one of the best first songs on an album ever.
Yeah. I felt like it really set the scene for the whole album. Like, you know, definitely. It's that song, man. It's it's one of them songs like the Grotesque and Beautiful. I don't even listen to it like that much. I didn't listen to it that much after I put it out because it just really like hits me in different places. You know what I'm saying? And so like Suicide Hotline 3 is one of them songs like, you know, like me, I was just joking about it with McKinley Dixon the other day. Like people ask me to perform that at shows and shit. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, bro, I would never ever rap that shit out loud again besides the first time that I rap that shit.
That's fair.
That's
fair.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's why so I didn't have to feel like that no more. You know what I mean?
I hear you. I mean, it's how, so on the production side, one more production question. How do you feel over the last 2 years? Because you were talking about, you know, a lot of it was made during one period and now you're coming back making another period. How has your production grown in the last like 2 years specifically?
Incredibly. So like the real Skullface probably has the most recent music that I've been making. The real Skullface and Skullface 333. Probably has the most recent of everything on there. There's some new stuff and some old stuff on Skullface 777. And Skullface 357 was made last March. So like 2021, that's kind of what I was on. It was made in a quick, well, man, 404 Loud from Atlanta. He's a good friend of mine now. Yeah, he came out and we worked on the album, like actually like in person together. So my like production now, like, is completely different. Like it's, you know, I played everything on the real Skullface. There's no samples in the whole thing. So all of the keys is just me. I got a chord MSO and I just been playing the hell out the keys. So I really just got back to music, like theory roots and learning how to build chord progressions and really do some stuff. And that's really why like that album is my favorite album. And the thing that I love the most is because I also engineered the whole thing too. So everything that I'm doing to my vocals and everything that I'm doing to the whole like overall sound, I feel like, you know, hasn't been, I don't want to say hasn't been done yet, right? But hasn't been done yet. It gave me like the building blocks now to go and perfect that. And you know what I'm saying? And know that I have something like actually really unique and individual to offer from a production standpoint. Like, you know, I don't think I haven't heard anybody making beats like that are on the, you know, the real Skullface. Prototype.
No, I mean, like your description on the Bandcamp of the real Skullface is my favorite album of all time. And it's, when I pressed play the first time, I was like, I get it. I get this. I would, because as a writer and someone who's just created, right? Like I wasn't born a critic. So I know what it's like to experiment outside of your comfort zone. And I know what it's like to stick the landing on, right? And to be like, fuck, I did that shit, you know? It's an incredible feeling, and I think you should have that for real Skullface.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
you know, I know I'm not like the greatest singer. You know, because I actually like damaged my vocal cords. You know what I'm saying? I got sick. That's why I ended up coming to Iowa and shit. And so, for me, it's like that's not the big. You know what I mean? Like I get that aspect of it, but the sound. You know what I mean? Like the sonic like soundscape that I feel like I was able to create on the album, to me, a completely unique experience that I feel like, you know, if you really just like sit down and if you're into that, you know what I mean, you can listen to that, you know what I mean, and really like enter a different world, you know what I mean?
I listen to it a lot. I mean, it's got joints, Blue Magic, Pusher, Prototype 1, you know, medication. It's, I mean, it's got joints. It really does. And I understand. I would be a hell of proud of it too. Just it's so good and it's so different from all the other stuff. So it's great. And what I was thinking about is, and this leads into, because I've got a 666 question here, because there's a vengeful tone for 666, right? It's warlike in this sense. Did you record that you recorded that alongside Grotesque and the Beautiful within that time frame, right?
Yeah. And I feel like, oh, my bad. I'll let you finish the question.
That's what I was saying. Did you keep those songs and just like sort songs that were in that same tone together for 666? Or did you kind of create them all at once in one package and say, this is what this is?
It was kind of like 2 sessions. So like, during the like protests of 2020, I was kind of like the leader of I won't get into the politics of all of that, but I really, was invested in keeping the people safe. So I stepped up because, I'm a very strategical person. So I developed like a system to use to basically protest in the streets and, have cars and bikes and all the stuff that are able to block the streets and make sure that we have a safe path to go down. And we're also ready for, if there was like a mass shooter or something crazy to try to, we just had it set up in place to do that. And so I kind of like, I won't say I took the helm of that, but I have a very strong personality. So I was kind of appointed to be the leader. So on all of the protests, I was the front man, like standing out in front, leading them through. And then I had a van behind me, and I was kind of like the head of the security team that kind of kept everything in order. So I feel like I really, I didn't participate in really any of the protests in a protester sense. You know what I mean? I was always there kind of like, I won't disrespect any military to say I was on duty, but, I was kind of, more working them. And so I feel like that was more like half of it. I was like just a channeling of that energy, and just that, there's a lot of power in numbers, and like I believe in a lot of different spiritual things. And so I just feel like I had a lot of, a long line of military and thugs and gangsters in my family. And so I feel like the military side of me kind of like was with me in those moments. And also the tribal, like ancestral part of me really came out in a lot of those beats, and just a lot of that album is like chanting, almost every song you can hear me chanting like a war chant, like arm, ready, aim, steady. You know what I mean? Like the whole album is like marches to kind of like,
that's a good point. Yeah.
So I felt like that really kind of like jumped out of me on that album. It was really a lot. I didn't write a lot of those songs. A lot of them are freestyles. It's kind of like 2 sessions. Half that album is kind of old and half of it is kind of new.
Yeah, there was a song on there, I think, that was it's called Stick.
Yeah.
And there's like a barbershop clippers sound that you make with your mouth on stick that is absolutely incredible. Does that just come naturally? Do you just trust that, or do you just chase that down? How does that manifest?
Man, I really just let, you know what I'm saying? It sound like, people will understand it, but I really just kind of let the spirits take hold of me. You know what I mean? I grew up in church. My dad's a pastor, incredible pastor, and I've seen a lot of like great preachers in my day, and great like, praise team leaders and choir leaders and all of that. They're able to like, when the Holy Spirit takes a hold of them, they really let it go. And so I'm able to do that when I'm rapping in a way that I'll create everything really spontaneous just for that sense, because, I never know where the Spirit's going to take me. And so even for like all of those songs and sessions where I made the beat and made the song in that same session. So it's like I sit down, I make the beat, and I'm even writing before putting it together, thinking of stuff, recording before I even finish the structure of the whole beat. And so Stick was really just like, I was kind of, I was really feeling myself on that one. And, I record through like, I don't use actual auto-tune. I have different effects that I use that are really like for guitars that I use on my voice that allows me to do different stuff. You know what I'm saying? And so, I'm just I have a lot of vocal talent that allows me to kind of like do a lot of stuff. So I like to let that's why I feel like, you know, I do both of that, because I'll never take anything away. Like, not to say that I can't do that on like more traditional hip hop stuff, but you know, there's a lot of fun to be had if you know how to engineer nowadays. You know what I mean? And a lot of stuff on the boom bap side is more, you know, that's where I flex my like writing. That's where I flex my other skills. But on those type of beats and that type of energy, I can really flex. Like, nobody can match my energy. You know what I mean? And I hear that in the songs. Like, and you can even see it when I perform. Like,
nobody can match my energy is very important. And I think to build on that, there's a lot of rappers you will listen to, we covered them recently, where they're saying they're calm, but they're really pissed. They're saying they're happy, but they're really unhappy, right? And they're countering their energy, you know? They're making their writing fight their energy, if that makes sense, right? And you're able to find where your heart and mind is and your energy and push yourself completely in that direction.
Yeah.
Whatever direction it is. And I think that's where you get stuff like Stick that is just so unique, because you are full throttle where you feel you are.
Yeah. Yeah. The Devil Lives in Des Moines, man, was like, that was like one of the craziest experiences I've ever had, like making a song. Like, the whole front half of that, like, it's really like a freestyle. And you can hear it, because like I do the same thing twice, right? Where I talk about I'm not shaking niggas' hands, we answer the niggas' calls. And it was like, I did it the first time and I kept like, it was like this weird, it felt like driving a car. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was like in a high race. It was like, at some point I might fuck up. My adrenaline's going, my heart's pumping like while I'm rapping this, because I'm like, yo, this is really low key dope. And then when I got to it, and I like, with no hesitation, I was just like, do it again. And when I started doing it again, my energy just like took off. So the second version of it just sounds so like crazy. And it was like literally like the first thing I recorded was the ad libs. So I was already hyped because I already had my ad libs in the background pumping. Right. So then when I got through the first like half of that, I literally like took off, and like my old engineer said, like, when I really get going, like you see a pastor start running through the church or whatever, I really took off, ran out the house. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. I like ran out the house, jumped the little fence, ran in the street. It was like, you know, I was too hyped to do it in the house. Everybody's sleeping on that. So I came back, and that's when like I sat down and I started writing some of the part of the second half. But I was so amped up that I just started going. And when I knocked that shit out, I was like, yo, this is like the greatest, you know. So like the energy that you hear in that song is so genuine that I feel like it like summons that. You know what I'm saying? If you in the arena, if you listening to it and you're like open, you're gonna get like pumped up. It's like it's gym music. You know what I'm saying? My whole like, you know, I love that.
And then like how haunting Dead Man Walking is, and like that's like, you understand with like the R&B flavors that R&B doesn't always have to be seductive, right? Like R&B can be meditative, it can be angry, it can be sad, right? There's all kinds of moods, you know. It doesn't have to be Trey Songz, it can be the OJs, you know. It can be all kinds of shit. So
have you seen the video for Dead Man Walking?
I have not.
There's a video, I did a video for Dead Man Walking like probably like 2 years ago. And I thought it was the greatest video of all time, and it really just didn't take off like that. And so that's what ended up. I don't want to like say lead me to put the project off, but I just felt like I loved it so much that I felt like the world didn't deserve it yet. You know what I mean? And so I was like, I'm not going to let this go until I have, like, I literally even put in a post, I think, where I was like, I need $100,000 to even like do the proper release that I would want for like these songs, the way that I feel about them. You know what I mean? But like, even the reason why I put them all out is because I felt like I had to, I don't want to say move on, but I gotta top that. So now that it's out and people can hear it and people can like, you know what I mean, see it, then it's like, all right, now I've set that standard is now the bar for myself and I have to exceed that now. So it kind of brought the fun back into even me recording and making music again.
Yeah, no, it's wild. The input of it, it's kind of a staggering display, right? The 5 albums, because like Zilla Rocca, shout out to Zilla Rocca from Philly, he hit me up today. It was like 333 is my favorite, you know? And I was like, damn, I don't even fuck with 333 like that. And so I re-listened to it and I'm like, oh shit. Like 1123 is on that shit. San Andreas, like, man, that shit got joints. Like there's so much great material spread across all of this that it's fantastic. It's been a fantastic thing for an obsessive person to digest. So I've been overjoyed with it, and I'm glad that I got a chance to post the article I did, because I felt like I hadn't seen a lot of people engage with it or write about it. Nick Marsh did a great job for Focus Hip Hop.
Yeah, shout out. I fuck with Nick.
Nick is a very straightforward person who did no bullshit, and gave it, and I thought he did exactly what someone who loves this hip hop would do, right? 777's shit, you know what I mean, all that. And I wanted to go in a different way and look at it a different way. And shout out to Nick, because I think he inspired me to do that. But yeah, and so I had chart and shit. I did all kinds of fun stuff. But I just wanted someone to kind of take a little bit of the time to digest it the way you did make it. So I hope that accomplished that. Yeah,
absolutely, and thank you, because like actually I really appreciated that. Not that like I appreciated the fact that like somebody actually, you know what I mean. And I don't mean this to say that Nick didn't get it right. It just wasn't his cup of tea, which is fine with me. But just even like that, I feel like piqued a lot of people's curiosity, right? Because I feel like, you know, and it's not, it's just kind of a reflection of the world we live in. Like a bad review will do more for you almost now than a good review, right? Because people want to see like, well, how bad is it? Or is it bad? Or like, let me, like, oh, what the fuck? Like, you know what I mean? That's kind of like something that you want to see. And so like, I just feel like just seeing, you know, for a lot of people, seeing that Teller Banks made like a pop album.
Right. They were interested, yeah.
In the other albums to see like what. And so even like, I feel like, you know, Skullface 777 also benefited from that, because it just kind of spread it around to where it was like, whatever, you know, that, and I had fun with it. It was just kind of like whatever you like in like music and rap today, I feel like I'm like as good, if not better than anybody that's doing that. You know what I mean? That's what it is, you know, and so I you know, I just want to show people that I don't ever want to get like pigeonholed into like, you know, making just one kind of thing, especially because the music that I make is so real. The energy and the feeling of it is so real that it's like, I can't live in that place forever. You know, I can't live in, you know, Suicide Hotline 3 forever. I can't live in, you know, the Grotesque and Beautiful and even like parts of the Part and Parcel forever. I have to like live in those moments. And I'm really like as like deep and you know, I don't want to say depressing, but like as like deep and sad as I can be, is I have a lot of joy in like in my life too. I also, you know what I'm saying, and am inspired by that. And I know that that's not as like appealing to everybody. Has different cups, you know what I'm saying, that they're into. But like, you know, my kids, man, they love Blue Magic. They love, you know what I'm saying, that's what they, when they get in the car, they want to hear that album. They want to hear they want to hear Skullface 333. The, you know, not that the other stuff doesn't really impress them, but they're not even old enough or like able to break that down all the way yet. You know what I mean? So I just feel like it gave, you know, I like to not really like do other stuff, but I wanted to, it feels good to me that they have now albums they can participate in and they can listen to, and that I don't feel like, you know, not even that I want to hold them back from nothing, because I'm very like honest and real with my kids about everything. But you know, it just felt good to make music that like they just naturally enjoy without knowing nothing about nothing. They dance to that music. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, I mean, me and Sleep had a great conversation a while ago just about like the pain market in rap. You know what I mean? The black pain market that is like, you know, European vinyl and all that shit, right? Where street shit, painful shit, white audiences just kind of eating it up, you know, wanting more. And it's rough because once that's successful, it moves people who wouldn't naturally do it into that space. And that sucks, right?
Yeah.
But beyond that, you can't, if you are constantly mining your pain, like it puts you in a negative, consistent space, right? Where your creativity becomes a negative force in a way.
And the real danger is like, you know, to be able to do that, you have to really be healed from it.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So like these songs, like I'm not gonna rap about anything that's like still currently like hurting me. I'm never gonna put myself in that place. And so I feel like the reason why it becomes so dangerous or so toxic, or even why, like, you know, like, not to say that, you know, knock on wood, that anything bad is never gonna happen to me again, but I have already made peace with it. You know what I'm saying? Me making the songs is me making peace with a lot of that stuff. I'm not gonna rehashing and beating the same dead horse in my emotions over and over again, because the reason why I'm expressing it now is because it's something that like I feel healed from, if not fully, to a degree enough where it's like I can analyze it accurately.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? I feel like when a lot of people are, you know, doing like mining their trauma or like making their art out of like pain, that's ultimately where a lot of art is going to come from. But you know, people get more caught up in the instance of like using it as fuel to create rather than like healing from it and then reflecting and creating art about that. You know what I'm saying? Can help other people or help yourself, like, you know, understand and move forward from things. You know, because music can be a healing process, right?
Totally.
But you know, I just feel like there is a market that's heavily invested in, you know what I'm saying, trauma. And people it becomes so like glorified that people like, I don't want to say there's people that, you know, just only want that. They cling to that. That's the only thing that they see as like valid art, is like pain and the struggle. And that's what even defines like the depth of a song for them, right?
Right.
But you know, I just feel like that's kind of, it's unhealthy. You know what I mean? And it's not, it does create a lot of art, but you know, a lot of people who are artists are like actually sick and actually coping with things. And so, you know, getting better is more important than, you know, appeasing people who don't really know you or really like care about your actual life. Because you're not really like, you know, I know that I'm not really like an actual person to most people, you know.
Yeah,
like,
I mean that is what happens. People have a hard time imagining the full dimensional person of an artist that they look up to.
Yeah, and that's just natural, you know what I mean? Because that's what I've done. Like I'm art, you know what I'm saying? Like Teller Banks, like is a real person, you know what I'm saying? But like I'm still like me, even though all of the things that Teller Banks, like I'm rapping as Teller Banks, is based on my real life and who I really am. You know what I mean? I still really am a person, you know what I'm saying, with a life. You know what I mean? All kind of stuff. like I said, you know, even in the tweet that you highlighted, like a lot of that stuff is like it's too real. You know what I mean? Where it's like I don't want I'm not I don't want to live in that place. You know what I'm saying? Because it is like it's really real for me. And so it's like it's hard to I can do it sometimes, you know what I'm saying? But I'm not I can only do what I feel. And that's why I like to have such a diverse catalog of music because, you know, when it comes to a show day, like I might not be feeling it. I might be sad as hell. I got a whole bag. I might be hype.
right.
You know what I'm saying? I might be hype as shit. I got a whole bag of that. I might be
Yep.
feeling
Yep.
a little fun, a little silly that day. You know what I'm saying? I might be on that. And I have music to match every mood that I really feel. So
all
I
the
don't have
colors, all the colors.
and or rehash or relive or you know what I'm saying, dig up old wounds just
Right.
to pull content. Like
Yeah, and to give an example on the other side, because this issue isn't just a pain issue, right? This issue exists on the other side. When I remember Doja Cat giving an interview about releasing Planet Doja and saying she didn't have any fun making the album.
yeah.
It was like a #2 album in the country, or it was a huge album. And she didn't have any fun making it because she had to make a giant sized pop album, right? It had to have certain things, you know?
Yeah.
And she didn't have fun doing it. It didn't necessarily match where she was or what she wanted to do. And so when you have that separation from where you are to what you're creating, it creates a problem. It just naturally does.
Well, you know, for a lot of people, like art is voluntary, right? But like, you know, a lot of things are. So it's kind of like, you know, sometimes like everything that you love isn't always going to be like fun, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, you know, playing with Michael Jordan, not fun. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But if you want a championship, you know what I mean? And so it's kind of like you have to give and take with that, where it's like, you know, sometimes like, you know, the part and parcel really wasn't, I wouldn't say like a fun album to make for me. I had fun, like there's some fun songs on there, but just the place that I was in my life, I feel like it's very reflected on that album.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so yeah, I you know, I feel like that doesn't take away from like the art. And I feel like that's something that, you know, can grow from and like learn from. I'm not a big fan of Doja Cat, but you know, some of your best work is gonna be hard as hell. It's not gonna be that fun.
Yeah. It's great point. I mean, by the way, so and this 357 is my favorite, right? And I think I said it in the thing that if I had to pick one song from these 5 albums to be like, this is my North Star, it's Tombot, right? Like Tombot is the kind of freedom where you are evolutionary Lil Wayne.
Man, it's crazy. I almost cut that song off the album because I like it the least out of all of the songs that we did on that whole session. But everybody loves it.
Love that song. Love that. It's Plant Your Flag. You know, where you're like, I don't give a fuck who she fucks if she listens to me. Like, it's just such a cool vibe. It's, you know, I started to think about your relationship with Wayne's music as like Devin Booker's relationship with Kobe's game.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I feel like
is that fair?
Yeah, for sure. Because I've always been a big fan of Lil Wayne, and like I never thought that I'd be able to ever rap like that or sound like that, right? I never, you know, I didn't really even like allow myself to get into that zone when I was in music, you know, until I feel like recently when you know, I don't like to compare myself to other people. It was really the first time I ever like started putting effects and stuff in my voice. You know, people started like my engineer and the other people were like, man, this sounds like old Wayne. That's kind of even where the old Wayne album came from.
Yeah.
But I feel like, you know, he definitely, that was like one of the first times I was out finding music for myself was like Wayne mixtapes and like just listening to that, like Wayne and Papoose. It was like complete opposites, but like it was just kind of like fun. And like now I get it, where it was like, you know, Wayne was really just having the fucking time of his life rapping. And so, yeah, like, I definitely take that like influence. I think it's something like, I don't know. It's not something that I ever tried to like emulate. I feel like it just happened naturally. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Myself pulls from what it's gonna pull from, and that's like how it ended up happening. You know what I mean? And if it doesn't feel like, you know, intentional.
Right. Yeah, no, I think, and there's still people who don't think Wayne is one of the best or whatever. And I would say, I think Wayne, the power Wayne brought to it is chaos, right? Wayne sounded like chaos.
Yeah.
And that's why the mixtapes became such a popular thing, because you were hearing this big charting platinum artist just bringing chaos to everyone's shit.
Yeah, straight up rap for like 3 minutes a song for like, you know, the Drought 3 is like 2 discs. You know what I mean? It was like he was really like, nah, you know, and that's why it's like, even if lyrically you feel like there's a lot, you know, there's not a lot of depth there, or it's a lot of like, you know, repetitive stuff, but like, you gotta remember also the time that came out, it was like ringtone rap was really like blowing shit out of the water. And so he was taking a lot of them songs that didn't really have no lyrical content to them at all and really turned the show, and just the vocal performance too. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of people take that away, where it's like, it is hard to rap passionately like that. You know what I mean? That's why, you know, not to take anything away from anybody, but it's hard to do that. And so there's just a level of difficulty on a lot of these classic Wayne verses that like are, you know, as impressive, the same credence you would give like a Twister for being able to rap that fast. It's like, even if you don't necessarily think he's the greatest lyricist, right, you got to give him respect for what he's able to do vocally, just in the fact that not very many people can do that at all on the planet. Where it's like, not a lot of people can do, you people can't learn a Wayne verse and rap it for 10 years. You know what I'm saying? They running out of breath. You know, I don't know if you're punching in or whatever, you might be doing a lot of stuff, but just the level of difficulty on a lot of the verses is up there.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, my stance over time has become that Wayne is the best kid rapper of all time.
Yeah.
Like, when you're talking about like 16, what 16-year-old are you taking? I'm like, give me Wayne.
Yeah.
And we're good. You know, the density of his verses as young as he was, the hooks, the energy, it was, you know, people just didn't have that.
Yeah, and I mean, Wayne is just, he's still getting, like, in a weird way, I feel like he still could drop his best album. Like, he still has so much untapped potential, even, which sounds like crazy to say, but it's like, you can get him with, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could literally get Wayne with like Alchemist and make some crazy shit. Even now, you can Zelda tapping in with him like he did. Man, the shit he did on that West Side Gun album is insane.
Right. No, it's, if there's anything that's hindered Wayne, in my opinion, it's that pop music has become more boring and underground music's become more exciting.
Yeah.
So in a way, if you had the choice, you'd just rather have like Wayne do an album with August Fanon, you know, or somebody, like, you'd rather have him with somebody doing interesting things. Whereas, you know, another Swiss Beats kind of situation or whatever. It's not, you know, but that's my thing. But to question for you, guns are a big part of the rollout, cover photos, bars. I know you're a responsible gun owner who really like taps into this. Talk to me about gun misconceptions. What do you want people to know that they don't know?
Man, that's a hard one. Honestly, like, I would just say, man, like, you know, I'm a avid like gun owner, and like, you know, I won't say like a guns rights like person, you know what I'm saying? But like, guns are very dangerous. You know what I'm saying? And so like, as the more like powerful, you know, it's kind of corny to say it, but like with, you know, it's like Spider-Man, man, with great responsibility. And so I feel like that's the neglected aspect as far as everything that's going with guns. There's a lot of people who have guns that don't necessarily need them or know how to use them. And there's a lot of people who don't, you know, follow all the way through with their level of like, you know, the guns that they own versus the type of training that they have to like even use and operate that type of like, you know, stuff in a safe way. You know what I mean? Or in a way that like really utilizes even having that. You know what I'm saying? If like even people say they have it for, you know, doomsday scenario stuff, then it's like you need to be trained like, you know, not like a soldier, but you need to be highly trained and like capable and able to like use your gun in a way that makes it so that you're not afraid of it. But I just think that's like the lacking component, because when you talk about like, you know, like the reason why like I carry most of the places I go is so that, you know, somebody else don't have that power over me, to where I always have like, you know what I'm saying, some type of power in the worst case scenario situation. But I'm also somebody that knows like, you know, I know about ammunition, I know about, you know, really like, you know, shooting stuff, you know, I mean, not like I'm not a soldier or nothing like that, but I really do training courses. I do a lot of different things where, you know, I can't say that if there was another 10 people in there with guns that they all know how to actually shoot without shooting each other. You know what I mean? If there was a bad guy or whatever is trying to do something. So I feel like that's something that gets overlooked when you think about the volume of guns that are out on the street versus the amount of people that are actually trained and ready to use them, you know, in an efficient manner is way out of whack.
Yeah, I mean, and what I noticed when I got out of the military and my friend took me to some gun shows, I started realizing, oh shit, like a lot of these people are ex-military and a lot of them are just buying guns that are comparable to the guns that they took care for years and years, right? And like when you leave the military, you leave all your friends. You also leave an entire lifestyle,
right,
that you'll never see again. It's weird. So they're keeping, a lot of people are at gun shows keeping those skills sharp. But those are skills that you wouldn't understand because you weren't in it, right? And like, but it's a different world, and they just want to be attached to that world. Still, they don't want to lose it.
Yeah.
You know. So
yeah, I had, you know, I've always, obviously like guns have always been like a part of my life in some capacity, right? But I didn't really start like even properly or taking them as seriously as I needed to until like recently in my life, to where like now when I look back and think about it, I was like, man, like, you know, I just never wanted to have something that like just have it. You know what I mean?
right.
As I started thinking about, you know, it's really like COVID really is what sparked me in. I had been doing stuff a little bit before that, but that's what really made me start taking it even more seriously as far as like the level of training, the stuff that I know how to do, you know, just so that it's like, you know, anybody go down to the range and shoot is, you know, and that's not a knock to anybody that does that, but
Sure.
I don't really need to go and buy more guns because I'm training my body and my gun. You know what I'm saying? I'm training like my skills versus, you know, having an array of weaponry. And I feel like a lot of people just have an array of weaponry. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they're like a vinyl collector, but guns. Yeah. Yeah. It shit happens. Fill up the closet. And it's a dangerous ass closet. But yeah, that happens. Oh, this meeting also acts as a peace treaty between Nuggets fans and 76ers fans. I'm a diehard 76ers fan. I've always loved the 76ers. And I know you're a Nuggets person, right?
Yeah, huge Nuggets fan.
So, and the whole Jokic versus Embiid thing, it's been going on. People have started thinking about it this year, but it's been going on for years, right? Two best pure centers in the league. And I've always had a weird understanding of it because I've always thought, like, if I was a Nuggets fan, you wouldn't be able to tell me shit about Jokic.
Yeah.
Jokic is doing shit no one else is doing. But as a 76ers fan, you can't tell me shit about Embiid, right? Like, he's Olajuwon to me. Like, I'm good. And I don't understand why the two fan bases don't understand that this is a tough call between these two.
Man, I think it's close. I don't think Embiid is a scrub, but I think that, I mean, the Sixers are still playing right now, right? But about this Nuggets roster, we shouldn't even made the playoffs. Like, think about the shit that like really took to win with this team. Like, that shit is insane. You know what I mean? And even just like I feel like his style of play and just even the market that Denver is in doesn't really lend itself to people watching him on a consistent basis, or even him getting like that type of like stardom. You know what I mean? That a lot of like other players, before would even get. Like, I don't even think Tim Duncan would be that big of a deal. Like, yeah, I mean, I won't take anything away from like championships, right? So, but like a player like Tim Duncan wouldn't be like Tim Duncan was as a star in today's game. He would be, they just don't look like, to be a great, you got to be really like physically like great. So when people see Jokic play, it doesn't look amazing, right? But when you see him play, it looks amazing. You're gonna get highlights of him doing some wild shit like that turnaround three, dunking on people, all kinds of shit that you wouldn't expect a big to do. But when you see Jokic, like I seen somebody say Jokic will drop 40 points on you and it looks like he's putting shit on top of the refrigerator. You know what I mean? It really just looks like he's, so I think that's where, like, if you're not attached to the team or attached to that, I don't want to say it's boring to watch, but it's like, it just reminds me of like the Tim Duncan effect, where I hated, I couldn't stand that. I couldn't stand watching the Spurs. I hated all of that shit because it was like they just played boring basketball to me. And I feel like that, like, especially Jokic this year, like, it was so hard to watch Nuggets basketball this year.
Oh, thank you for admitting that. Thank you for admitting that.
Basketball this year because the team was terrible. The fact that they even made it to the playoffs at all is the reason why Jokic won. They're probably gonna win the back-to-back MVPs. I don't know if it's already sewn up, but if he don't win it, he deserved it for sure, because half of that roster, I mean, none of the starters besides Jokic are starters on any other team in the NBA.
Yeah, a lot of the people, like Jamal Murray gets more valuable every day, right?
Yeah.
Like but like they had shooters who are just like Will Barton is a great example. I know you're a big Will Barton fan. But like Will Barton is a shooter. Just he loves shooting. And
and he tried to run that ISO every time. And oh my God, don't get me started on Will Barton, man.
He'll sit out there and like, so the only person they have that knows how to move the ball around is Jokic. And like, he doesn't really have the guard to help him because Murray's out. Yeah. So it's rough.
Yeah, it's really bad. Monty Morris is pretty good. I like Bones
Hyland. Yep.
But everybody else can go, man. Honestly, I'm sick of looking at all of the rest of them. I don't want to see him again. And Mike Malone's not really that too high on my list either.
No, I've never been a Mike Malone person. I think Denver's had a lot of talent pass through the roster. It hasn't always been organized well, I think. But
they got to know how to make that Golden State switch, right?
Yeah.
You got to, you use the George Karl to build a roster, implement a system, and then you make the switch. You use Mike Malone build a roster, implement a system, and then you got to make that switch that's going to take you to the next level because he just don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Look at what the Celtics did, right? Putting Ime Udoka in there and just, way better. They all had much better time with it. So I think that's fair. I'm just too close. I have too much love for Embiid to be an objective person in that MVP discussion. I'm always going to pick Embiid over Jokic, but that's because I love Embiid, and yeah, this is weird that people can't understand their own biases playing into the system, but yeah, Jokic, both of them are incredible, and it's in good shape. League's in good shape. Fun playoffs so far, but yeah, no, thank you for hanging out. I appreciate it. This is Skullface. The totality of Skullface is a heck of an MVP case to make. The Stones to drop 5 albums in one day, price them from $10 to $100, and ask everyone to go on the journey. And not everybody's willing to do that.
Yeah, so, man. I appreciate for tapping in with that too. It's kind of just everything. Like, as an artist, like everything that you do is not always going to be like for other people. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of how I've grown as like an artist too, is like looking at a lot of this is like, more like a painter, And so, yeah, I gave people the option where it was like, I know how I value that, the albums. And so, I'll give you the option also to hold it in high value or high regard with that, or you can not, just like you can buy a painting or you can not buy a painting, and it doesn't take away from how I feel about it. Because the people who do value it are gonna do that. And yeah, it was just fun. I like doing it. I had a good time making all of the albums, and even just coming up, it was real spontaneous. I didn't plan on dropping 5 albums in one day. It just kind of was like, I should just drop all of them today. I was feeling real spontaneous in the moment, and I feel like, I just felt good about it. So
when did you have all 5? When did you have all 5 and sit
in it? Honestly,
huh?
I've had all 5 for a while. Honestly,
oh wow.
Some of the songs are like, you think, well, I don't even know what the newest song is on there, but I've had all of those albums like put together and had plans for them, and like I've even shopped a few of them around, like the A&Rs and stuff, like in like a label, different stuff, and I just felt like eerie similarities to some of the stuff dropping, like especially on like 666,
right?
In the production and some of the like cadences and like flows and stuff that kind of just made me feel like, I don't want to hold on to it no more. So it dropping really just one of them, the 357, to me dropping all of them, just kind of like have it out there, because the rules are different now. So it's like, I'll have it all out there, and that song might catch on 2 years from now, and I end up doing a remix of it with somebody else, and you know what I mean? There's just different rules now. And when I'm performing and stuff, I've performed a lot of these songs already. Like, so if you've come to any of my live shows, like you've heard Remember the Titans for sure, because I come out with a lot of times. If it's that type of vibe in the crowd, like that's what I'm coming out with. So just having that music now available, so that when I go and do these shows, like I got a show in Miami on the 14th. When I go and do that show, all of the songs that I perform like for the first time are actually out and available for you to go and find and like tap in with afterwards, versus, I'm going to the venues and doing high energy songs. And then when you go back to my catalog, it's the Grotesque and Beautiful, and you're looking for the stuff that you don't find it. You know what I mean? Where it was, I have everything out there. If you want it, you can get to it. and it's not going anywhere, and there's no like rush on it to do anything, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, shout out to you, and yeah, keep trusting yourself, keep working.
Yeah, appreciate you.
I appreciate you, man. See-